In today's video, I'll give you the most comprehensive yet easy to understand guide to the DUNE universe. We'll cover its backstory, lore, and I'll introduce you to its key planets and characters so you can watch or re-watch the first movie and enjoy it even more, and view the second part like a true expert of this universe. I've also got similar guides on the channel for both Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones universes, so bookmark this video so you don't miss out on anything. And if you enjoy movie and TV content, follow me to stay updated on all this and much more. I'm FreakMaster. DUNE is a book series whose first novel, published by Frank Herbert in 1965, pioneered sci-fi and inspired later works like Star Wars. In 1984, David Lynch released DUNE, a film that was quite good for its time but didn't make a big splash. After several attempts with movies and series, the franchise lay dormant until 2021, when director Denis Villeneuve presented his modern take on this universe, which was a huge success. Now, in 2024, he's back with part 2. To understand the DUNE universe, it's crucial to know its backstory, using our present day, the 21st century, as a reference point. Humanity begins to attempt interplanetary travel, similar to what Elon Musk or Jeff Bezos are trying. Meanwhile, we're increasingly delegating everyday tasks to machines, computers, and of course the hottest trend right now, artificial intelligence. As centuries passed, humans expanded further into the universe. AI enabled easy interplanetary travel, but the very AI they created gained consciousness and rebelled against humanity. In 11,000 BC, a war between machines and humans began, lasting thousands of years until 88 BC, when humans finally defeated the machines. Here on Corinth, after the Battle of Corinth, the Empire was formed. A local was named Emperor, and AI was banned. Year 0 marks the founding of the Spacing Guild, which I'll explain later. Time is now measured before and after the guild. This is Dune's backstory, which is our focus. We'll jump 10,000 years ahead to 10,191 after the Brotherhood. Now, I'll explain the planetary situation at this point in time. I'll only mention the key planets to keep things clear. It's crucial to understand that, like feudal regions ruled by great houses, planets here are similarly governed. Here's Corinth, where humans defeated machines over 10,000 years ago, as I mentioned earlier. This is Caton, the planet where the Empire is based. Here's Caladan, a planet rich in water and vegetation. And this is Giedi Prime, Caladan's main rival planet. But here we have the most important planet of all, Arrakis, also known as DUNE, around which this entire story revolves. A planet with a surface plagued by deserts full of dangers. The most notorious being the giant sandworms that glide beneath the sand. Sandstorms that are nearly impossible to survive if caught in, and the climate itself, with temperatures so high you can dehydrate in minutes. This planet is home to the galaxy's most precious resource, melange, simply called spice in the film. Spice is like our world's oil. Without it, space travel would be impossible. Consuming spice can grant sensory abilities, but may turn eyes completely blue and even cause bodily mutations. The planet's natives, the freemen, consume spice and thus have blue eyes. For them, crying or spitting is an act of gratitude, as this spice-rich world ironically lacks a common resource, water. These natives have created distilled suits that recover moisture from their bodies, filtering their own sweat and urine. The freemen are seen as savages by other planets and survive in the desert, which has made them formidable warriors. For this story, I'll highlight the three most important freemen. Stilgar, the leader of the freemen, Chani, Stilgar's niece, and Chani's father, who was a planetologist. Note, there's a change here. In the film, this character doesn't appear, and Liet Kynes takes his role as the link between the Empire and freemen. Besides the houses ruling the planets, which I'll discuss now, there were various political and religious organizations, but I'll focus on the four most important ones, so you understand everything clearly and no one gets confused. The Empire, led by the Emperor from planet Corin of House Corino, as I mentioned before. So this house, ruled by Corino, saw the Emperor, family, and troops move here to the planet Kaitain. The Empire includes the Landsraad, essentially a governing council for all houses, from the most powerful to the least. House Corino, the Imperial House, commands the Sardaukar, an army feared across the galaxy. These warriors, trained brutally from childhood, often didn't survive past age 10 due to the harsh regimen. Think of them as Spartans, if that helps you understand. This house has two key figures, Emperor Shaddam IV and his firstborn, Princess Irulan. Note that this house is much larger like the others, but I'll only mention the most important members. I'll just name the key characters from each house, otherwise you'll get lost in the details. So remember the Emperor and his daughter, who don't appear in the first movie, but will in the second. We've covered 2 points here. I've introduced the first of 4 key organizations, the Empire, and also presented the first of 3 houses I'll discuss, the Corino. Let's move on to more organizations. The Bene Gesserit, a religious sect composed entirely of women. These women, in their quest for human perfection and genetic selection, have developed unique abilities, notably their voice, which can compel obedience, plus combat skills and keen observation that can detect lies. This group, through genetic selection and experiments mixing bloodlines and specific individuals, they sought the birth of a superior human with machine-like brain power called the Kichaz Jadarash, essentially the Messiah, the chosen one. Several people currently believe they might be this figure. Of these Bene Gesserit, I'll only introduce one for now, Mother Gaius Helen Mohayan. Another group is the Mentats, an imperial order trained in mathematics, logic, and memory, hired as advisors to great house leaders, offering political, economic, and military counsel. Here are 2 key figures in this story, which I'll discuss more shortly. But first, let's turn to the final organization. Remember when I mentioned the Space Guild was founded in year 0? Well, this is the last organization I'll be discussing. The Space Guild is responsible for space travel, meaning the entire Empire relies on them, as they're the only ones who can safely travel at light speed due to their superintelligence allowing them to calculate safe routes. Recall that AI is banned, yet they've developed superintelligence for travel. But how did they manage this? Yes, consuming the spice. Lots of spice. As I mentioned before, one side effect was blue eyes. But do you remember the other? Genetic mutations and deformations. That's the price for this superintelligence. Navigators are kept in spice-filled capsules for life. So we have the Freemen on Arrakis and the 4 organizations I mentioned. One is Imperial, part of House Corino, based on Corin and Kaitain. Now we have 2 more great houses to discuss. On Giedi Prime, House Harkonnen rules brutally, rarely negotiating. They solve everything one way, with the sword. Let's meet the 4 most important characters of this house. Their leader, Baron Vladimir Harkonnen, an extremely obese man weighing over 200 kilos, uses suspensors on his spine to levitate and move around. A true tyrant, he's the main villain of this story. his older nephew Raban, nicknamed the Beast, which, as you can imagine, and his younger nephew Faid Rauta, whom the Baron considers smarter than his older brother, so he's chosen him as his heir. This character doesn't appear in the first movie, but we'll see him in the second. And lastly, do you remember this one here? That's right, one of the two most important mentats. This is Peter de Vries, an ambitious and twisted character. Finally, we come to planet Caladan, ruled by House Atreides, opposite to the previous one, with a contrasting policy of being a beloved, not feared leader. Their leader, Duke Leto Atreides, a respected and beloved man close to his people. His concubine, Lady Jessica, a Bene Gesserit. The Duke loved her but remained unmarried, his bachelor status a political asset. They had a son, Paul Atreides, the story's protagonist, a gifted 15-year-old boy. The Bene Gesserit expected a girl, but they were mistaken. Still, he's thought to be the Kwisatz Haderach, the chosen one I mentioned. There's also Thufir Hawat, the other mentat I spoke of earlier, who serves as the Duke's advisor, and two outstanding soldiers, Gurney Halleck, the War Master, and Duncan Idaho, House Atreides' weapons master. Both mentor young Paul Atreides in the art of combat. Lastly, Dr. Yue, counselor and healer of House Veros Atreides. With this, we now have all the pieces on the board. I'll explain how they're positioned at the start of the first film so you understand what's about to unfold. At the film's beginning, House Harkonnen is on Arrakis by imperial decree. They've been there 80 years, chosen by the Emperor to mine and distribute spice, greatly enriching House Harkonnen. But what's really going on here? Easy to miss at the start, the unseen Emperor fears these two great houses. He fears Harkonnens for their wealth and vast army, and Atreides for their influence and allies, possibly uniting to claim the Empire. So given the Emperor's fear of these two houses, what's his move? He orders the Harkonnens off Arrakis, cutting their spice trade, citing their brutality towards natives. He then gives this position to House Atreides, who can't refuse the imperial order and could benefit financially. But the Emperor isn't foolish. He's not doing this as a favor to either house. This sets up the plot, moving pieces on the board in this tale of betrayal, a sort of space Game of Thrones. I'll upload another video continuing this, summarizing the first movie with spoilers. That's all. That concludes the intro to Dune's lore and history. Hope you enjoyed it, found it entertaining, and that it helped you better understand the story. If so, please like and subscribe. It costs nothing but helps me a lot. It really helps the channel grow and reach many more people. Thanks a lot and see you in the next video.